Hello everyone, welcome back to online NPTEL course on research methodology for planning and architectural studies. So far we have discussed about the type of data, the classification, and also like in our previous lectures we have seen different type of measurement and scaling technique, which definitely will help you to figure out how to make your questionnaire ready for the survey. Now, when you say about the survey, that collecting information, then how to do it? There are many ways that we can do the survey. I can go and ask people, I can just make a questionnaire and I can circulate it through social media. We can do that, or else something that we don't need any participation, we just simply go and stand and observe, or maybe I can use certain kind of photography and videography to collect information. So in all those cases we are doing some sort of data collection to survey. So for that reason, to bring some clarity, so we'll be discussing now the types of survey in two parts. Today at lecture number 19 we'll discuss the part 1 of types of survey, and then in next lecture, lecture number 20, we'll discuss the part 2 of it, so that we'll get to know about the available survey type, so that we can decide which is much more suitable, or which are the surveys which are required for my own research. So essentially in this particular lecture we'll try to understand what is survey, types of survey, and then we summarize. So what is survey? Survey refers to the method of securing information concerning a phenomena under study from all or selected number of respondent of the concerned universe. So this statement, if I make it very simplified, that I want to do some study where I need some sort of perception of people. So we have population of the study area, the target population. Suppose if I want to do it for a metro station, some kind of understanding of metro users, that okay, the amenities that are available in the metro station, about their perception, how good it is, or the convenience to them. So for such cases the metro users total number will be my population, and then we'll survey all of them, which sometimes maybe seems impossible, because probably each day there will be a few lakhs of population that are traveling. Then we go for some sort of sample. So out of that population we only interview some representative sample. So that is why it is saying that it can be from all, or it may be selected number of respondent of concerned universe or the population. The purpose of survey investigation is to provide scientifically gathered information to work as a basis of researchers for their conclusion. Suppose my assumptions or hypothesis is something that people are not happy with these amenities, or people are super happy with these amenities in that airport. Now once we survey and we try to understand different kind of perception in a structured manner, I can go for some kind of structured questionnaire, I can take their ratings, the way normally whenever there is some online delivery, after that you will receive a call or email that okay, just give us the rating, survey rating about your experience. Even if you have some kind of telephonic call to the customer care, you will receive a call that okay, how was your experience with the customer care executive, so you give certain sort of rating. So it's all cases, the only idea to get this feedback, to understand the system, the performance. If say for example for a customer care executive, most of the people say that okay, they are unhappy with the answers of that customer care executive, so that means the probably there is some lack in the performance, so maybe there will be some kind of improvement into it. Similarly, for any research work also, based on the data whatever it will reflect, so once you have that kind of information through survey, we can better produce the significant result and bring conclusion out of it. Surveys are concerned with describing, describe where it is a description based thing. It can be recording, where say for example I want to understand the people and vehicle conflict on a busy intersection, I can do the videography, and through image processing I can do the calculation. Analyzing and interpreting the conditions that exist or that existed. So it may be something that which is there earlier as well. The researcher does not manipulate the variable or arrange events to happen. This is also very important rider, or maybe you can say important aspect that we need to see. As a researcher, our main task is to portray what is existing, what your data says. You should not create the data, or you just manipulate the data to represent something that you want. That is probably not ethical. So for that, whatever information you require, you collect it, maybe secondary sources or maybe through primary, but you should not alter or arrange it for the event that you want to happen. Now coming to the context of type of surveys, based on frequency we have classification of cross sectional survey, and also we have a longitudinal survey. Based on the coverage, the number, you can have the census survey or you can have the sample survey. So census survey is something like you can say 100% sample, like it's all, not even sample, rather not to use the word sample, it's the entire population survey. And also like the other classification on the basis of administration, how you administer the survey, it can be observational survey or it can be participation survey. So this participation survey can be of simple respondent, or it can be sometimes you can say that it can go with the expert, right. So we will discuss one by one now. What is cross sectional survey? These surveys are administered to a small sample from a larger population within a small time frame. Okay. This survey allows comparison across group and demographic variables. So this is something you can take small sample and then you can compare. It is cost effective and very efficient. They provide quick insight into the current status of the population at a given time frame. So suppose I want to do it at this particular time, I want to understand the phenomena, I should go for this kind of cross section survey. So where I intercept and I just get the immediate information. So this is something will showcase some sort of current status or current phenomena that is working. Say for example, survey of assessing visitor satisfaction in a tourist destination. So in this case, at a particular time if we do the survey, so the tourists are keep on coming and all, but at particular time I would like to know their satisfaction. So this is a cross sectional survey. In contrast to that, longitudinal survey, this is also very important in the aspect that where for a long time we are trying to understand the phenomena. So longitudinal survey track individuals or group over an extended period, capturing the changes and trend, offer insight into how variables evolve over time, providing a more comprehensive understanding that it is not that okay all of a sudden this is the induced thing, or maybe just it is a reflection. This enables researcher to assess long term impact of interventions and policy. There are three types of longitudinal survey: panel survey, trend survey and cohort survey. For example, analyzing the long term effects of infrastructure development on tourist flow. So I change the similar context, but here say for example I want to understand people's satisfaction, but suppose at particular time it was having some lack of infrastructure, then I include some infrastructure, I improve some infrastructure, okay, the city authority develops certain thing, and after that is there any changes in the perception? Is there any improvement in satisfaction? So if you do this particular survey in a time frame, you can get this thing, right. Now for this kind of panel survey or train survey and cohort, will again show you with the example that how it can value. Even if you want to understand a cell pattern or something, so probably for that kind of cases also you can go for this longitudinal survey as well. Census survey, a census survey aims to collect data from every individual in the entire population of interest. Census survey ensure high accuracy and completeness, but can be resource intensive and time consuming, because it is something you cover each and everybody. Suppose if it is something to just do experiment for a particular class to understand their understanding or behavior towards the education system. So if I want to do it for say 100 student or say 500 student, still I can think of it. But if it is something dependent on a population of a particular city, which is maybe like around 20 lakhs, okay, so for that it is not very easy to do, okay, it needs resources and time. Though that will capture each and everyone, so probably will not have those kind of bias, or maybe there will be something wrong in the sampling strategy because everyone is covered. But that is something very cost intensive and time consuming. The insight gained from census survey are highly detailed and applicable to the entire population. So it is making a valuable for comprehensive policy making. So that's why, like, for government the interest is to understand that okay, there is a employment data, there is some kind of gender related data and other information, which as a whole, like, it is required that okay, this can be a strategy. Due to its exhaustive nature, census survey are commonly used in governmental data collection. It cannot be very frequent. That's why I say that for India it is like normally done in 10 years, because administrating this kind of survey is definitely a big task, and then requires like you can say that the resources like manpower, the cost, etc. Compared to that, a sample survey selects and collects data from a subset of the population. So, if you have this is the population, so you take out a chunk of it and then which is representative. So, it is something you can say a different example, like for any birthday we celebrate with the cake cutting. So, probably in that case, or maybe you can say that sharing a pizza slice. So in such cases, probably if you consider the entire thing as a pizza and then you get a slice, and obviously in this case you have some sort of homogeneity in that. So one slice of pizza will tell you the taste of the pizza itself. It should not be the other slice will give you a different taste, if that is customized, but in general it is like that. Or maybe a piece of like birthday cake, you take a small portion of it and you get a taste, it has whatever the ingredients and all, but that is representative. So similarly for sample, it is also a subset of the entire population, so we don't need to survey each and everybody. So by that way it will have some kind of representativeness, it will have some sort of less resource consumption, and then it can also help to represent the population characteristics. The challenges lies in ensuring the sample is truly representative, minimizing selection bias to draw accurate conclusion, which normally we can get from the total population. So depending on the sampling strategy and all, if you go for much more on the probabilistic sampling, then it can be a better representation than the some kind of non probabilistic sampling, or maybe judgmental, or you can say the purposive sampling. So for all this sampling and all, we will discuss it in detail in our coming lectures. Now for example, a sample survey might gather feedback from randomly selected group of tourists to understand their preferences, satisfaction, and we can say the spending pattern in that particular tourist destination. So in this case we are not going to interview all tourists in that particular time. we just randomly select, or maybe we can select purposefully. So, depending on the sampling strategy, but we will do the sample size calculation that we will discuss again in a separate presentation. Now, the other type is on you can say the way we administer. So, observation survey. So, this method implies the collection of information by way of investigators own observation without interviewing. So, there is nobody participating or nobody I am asking the question. So, it is investigator or researcher's own observation. The information obtained relate what is currently happening, and it is not complicated by either the past behavior or future intention or attitude. As because it is observation, it is something which is currently happening. So, I cannot observe something which is happened, or I cannot observe today what is going to happen tomorrow. Not suitable where large sample are concerned. People do this, okay, in a small group that they are doing this activity, I can make some observation, okay, this is probably this population they are doing. But if it is a big population and there are certain heterogeneity that people are reacting in a different way, so my observation may be too much biased. Now, observation surveys can be classified into various types based on nature of observations, role of the observer or the researcher or surveyor you can say, and the context of the study. So, what are those? One is non-participant observation, participant observation, direct observation, indirect observations, controlled observation and uncontrolled observation. So, definitely one is related to the participation, the other one is direct versus indirect, and then it is control versus uncontrolled. Let us quickly understand this. Non-participant observation survey. It involves observing subject without actively participating in their activities. This method provides an objective view of the subject's action and interaction in their authentic context. Say it is maybe the scorecard or behavioral scale that we can use. For example, researcher discreetly observe tourist behavior such as shopping preference, interaction with amenities and leisure activities without directly participating in or influencing their experience. So, that means here you just follow that, okay, this is a tourist, and then that tourist after visiting this place is going to a shop and normally eating this kind of item. So, it is based on the observation that most frequently people they do this kind of shopping, they have interest in this kind of food or some cuisines. So, this is something that you observe and then you make a reference that mostly you have seen, you have just observed say 20 tourists, out of that 15 tourists after having visited that particular tourist monument or something, that particular area tourist destination, they are doing this activity, they are having a cup of coffee or maybe they are having some sort of snacks which is very popular in that location. So, then that is something you can say that you are not intervening their actions and you are not also asking them about their preferences, you just make based on your observation. Now, in contrast to that, if you go for participant observation survey, so in this case it involves researcher actively engaging and immersing themselves in the environment of community being studied. This method allows first hand experience and insight into the subject's perspective. In this case, subjects refer to the respondent, fostering a deeper understanding. Technique is interaction recording, or you can go for tape recording, or maybe it can be a photographic technique as well. So, in this case a researcher actively joins the guided city tours, engaging with tourists to understand their preference, reaction and overall satisfaction. So, in this case also you are observing, but in this case you are involved with the tourist. So in that case you just find that okay where they are going, etc. It's not like the previous one where you are not participating into that particular tourist uh, you know group and all. So it is from a distance you just observe and make certain kind of scoring and recording of the information. In this case it is different, so where you can participate and observe the behavior. Direct observation survey. So observation of any event personally by the observer when it takes place. It involves systematically observing and recording the behaviors and also the phenomena in real time. So this is something that is real time occurring. This method provides an objective and first hand account of behaviors, minimizing the potential for recall bias or misinterpretation. So in this case it is not that you recollect your memory what you have seen and then you represent. So it is instantly happening what is currently in real time. For example, document visitors behavior at fair or festival to analyze crowd dynamic and attraction preferences. Indirect observation, this does not involve the physical presence of the observer or the researcher or the surveyor you deploy, and recording is done by mechanical, photographic or electronic device. So you are not in the spot, but you have the recorded video. So in such cases you can later on synthesize and you can do some image processing or video processing by which you will try to understand the behavior. In previous case it is something you are present over there and it is happening at that particular real time situation, but it is something that okay you just recorded or somebody already like recorded for you and then you are analyzing it. This approach allows for non intrusive data collection while minimizing the impact of human presence on observed behavior, making it particularly useful. For example, automated video surveillance system can capture and analyze customer behavior, preferences and traffic pattern without need for a physical observer. So in such cases you must have seen cities, traffic intersection and all. So there are camera installed, or maybe you are going to a particular shopping mall, camera installed over there, the CCTV, so which is capturing your behavior. So if in that case like there is no researcher or observer required to record the video, it is installed, mechanically it is recorded. Now for the analysis you can also have some kind of algorithm developed by which it can detect, or else there you can have some manual intervention, but that may not be required at the real time. So you can take a judgment. Say for example, suppose you want to understand that in a traffic intersection who are violating the rules, maybe they are over speeding, they are not violation for the red signal, or maybe they are not wearing helmet in case of two wheelers or not wearing the seat belt. So in all those cases like you have certain kind of algorithm. So especially for the helmet and all, nowadays like the traffic police and the authority, they are making some kind of automated AI driven solution by which in real time it will be monitored that who are not using it, and then with the number plate detection and all, there will be some challan and there will be some issue warrant issued for those kind of violators. So this is something that also can be done from indirect observation survey. Now coming to the controlled observation survey, researchers in this case manipulate and control certain aspect of the environment to observe the specific behavior and phenomena. What exactly it is? In this case, it provides a control environment where variables can be isolated and studied systematically. While offering the precision and replicability of this method, it's having some kind of risk of you can say that artificiality, as the control condition might not be reflect the world dynamic scenario. So in such cases it may not be the same case of the natural behavior. For example, we just try to understand it from the example. Researchers design and monitor a controlled environment within a hotel to study the effects of varying check-in procedure of the guest experience. So in such cases like definitely it may not be a real behavior. So many a times you set up this kind of control environment and test their behavior. You must have seen some of such kind of experiment, that how they react to certain action and they portray. So for such kind of behavioral study, it is being used in a control behavior, but that is again in this case, there maybe some kind of issue of some kind of artificialness in that particular experiment. Uncontrolled observation survey. Uncontrolled observation survey involves the spontaneous and unplanned monitoring of behavior without any predefined structure. So this is something which is happening in real. There is no such kind of control on this experiment. Researcher observe the subject, or in this case this is nothing but, you can say, the sample, right. Subjects normally we use in those cases where you identify the sample and we try to understand his or her behavior. So it is not, again we can say, the respondent, because we are not asking any question, it's everything happening with the observation in their natural settings without manipulating. So in this case subjects are there in their natural setting, and then we are not imposing any criteria. This allows more organic and unbiased view of the behaviors. Example, document visitors behavior at music festival to uncover natural pattern of engagement and interaction. So you observe people, that how they react to that particular music festival, what kind of genre they like, or what kind of music they are liking. So if there are multiple events, so people sometimes they get engaged into something, or sometimes they are not. So that you need to figure it out. So with that, like, let us summarize this part of the discussion, where mostly we discussed about the survey, and in that case the type of surveys that, depending on you can say that the size, where you can go for the census, okay, for the whole survey. Then you can also have something called sample survey, or else in that case in terms of administration you can go for observation survey, okay. And in observation survey also, like, you have certain typology, that whether it is controlled or whether it is uncontrolled, okay, or where it is like participatory or not, or maybe you can do this where you do not participate in that particular example. You have seen that where the observer should take part into that group and to understand the behavior, or else it is a real time one. So each and every method will have certain kind of pros and cons. Something is like in a controlled environment, something is like natural environment. So depending on the need, researcher need to uh, take a call on what kind of observation survey that they require. So in such cases, like, definitely there are other few types of survey that are to be discussed, and that is why we will be discussing all of them, which are commonly used in our research in planning and architecture, in the part 2 of this segment, that is the type of surveys part 2. So these are few further readings, and hope things are clear to you whatever we discussed today. So other typology we will discuss in our next lecture, which is lecture number 20, types of survey part 2. So till then I definitely would like you to go through our previous lectures thoroughly, because this is a continuation. So unless you go through all those, probably you cannot follow these particular upcoming lectures. So after that, if you have any doubt, please write to me in the forum. I will get back to you with the answers in a best possible way. So with that, thank you once again for joining the course. I think that the things are clear and it's going to help you or helping you out in your research. So with that, I end up here the lecture number 19. See you soon.